Hello everybody and welcome to the CFB Battle Royale. I am your host Greggles and we are going to be taking a look at the Independents. Sorry about the delay yesterday, my voice was completely gone and it was just not gonna work. So we're gonna do it today. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Independents, the MAC, and the Mountain West. We are not going to be doing the Pac-12. I'm just going to give my voice a break. Thank you very much, Kinslers. Yeah, the voice is better. You may hear it. It's a little bit raspy still, but it's definitely more noted, or it sounds more like me than it did yesterday. So, yeah, we're going to do 3 today. I'm going to give my voice a little bit of time off tonight again. I'm just going to keep eating lozenges and drinking tea, and hopefully that'll fix it. And then tomorrow we're going to go ahead and do the Pac-12, the SEC, and the Sun Belt, and maybe the finals. Hopefully the finals. We can do all 4 in one day. So, without further ado, let's get this started. This is the independent round, so things should go pretty fast. We have all 7 teams, all the original 6, plus the new entrant in UConn, who has moved from the American Conference to the Independents. So, welcome, UConn. Unfortunately, the civil conflict is dead, but we'll let some new teams beat up on you and maybe something will happen. So, without further ado, let's get this thing started. Alrighty, so like all the ones before, the first 50 to 80 turns will probably be nothing too crazy, nothing too exciting, but we'll just we'll get through. We'll watch the land expansion, see where everyone's going to go. Unlike the other maps, because there are only 7 teams, which is the smallest number of any conference, things are going to get going a lot quicker, I have a feeling. Things are going to be faster, things are going to be crazier. It's just going to be all around more nuts, let's just say. People are a lot more cramped. There's a lot less room, as you can see in the middle. This one actually may fill up entirely versus the other ones, which kind of had big gaps in the middle. So we're going to see what we can do. All right, so it looks like UConn did build a scout, and they got that out really quickly compared to everyone else. Everyone else is still just working on expansion. Let's see. Speaking of expansion, it looks like everyone is getting to their first tile choices, so it looks like UConn is expanding out towards BYU, and that's it. No, Army looks to be expanding down towards Notre Dame, and other than that, that seems to be it for now. So I'm surprised UConn got that scout out so fast. We have Army up in the top, BYU at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, UConn and Pratt and Whitney. Liberty down at Arthur L. Williams, UMass or University of Massachusetts down at Warren McGurk, the New Mexico State over in Aggie Memorial Stadium, and Notre Dame in Notre Dame Stadium. So we finally have the opportunity for Notre Dame to actually build Notre Dame. Will they be the ones to actually do it? Who knows? So let's find out. So we're getting our expansions now. Everyone's starting to get their territories. UConn is pushing up towards BYU. Liberty kind of pushing towards UConn. Massachusetts pushing towards New Mexico State, who is kind of pushing a little bit towards Notre Dame and back towards UMass here, you can see. Army's definitely going for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is kind of going towards the middle, it seems. So everyone's picking their strategies for expansion. And there we go, turn 59, we have our first military unit in UConn with the catapult, just like all the other ones before it. The catapult always seems to be the first choice. Especially with these close quarters, that is a good option to go with. BYU does found a great general, and I love that this map is so small. I can see everybody at once, not having to move around at all. So let's keep going and see what happens. Everyone else still just expanding. I'm sure they're all working on military units, just not sure which ones are where yet. So... And just like all the other ones, it looks like they're doing mostly their hill tile first and then one of their wheat tiles, except for New Mexico, or not New Mexico, well, New Mexico too. New Mexico State and Massachusetts choosing to not go for their wheat tile immediately. Everyone about the same at gold level wise. A little bit of difference, but nothing too bad, nothing too crazy. Alright, so still no other army or military units yet besides UConn's catapult. and the Great General at BYU. They also have founded a caravan at BYU, so they're going to be trying to trade, get some gold, help out their banks. Let's see. So everyone's starting to get expanding. Everyone's starting to touch territories here. Army's touching BYU, who's touching Yukon, who's not touching Liberty. Liberty's actually kept their distance. They're social distancing really well right now. UMass and New Mexico State doing okay, and Notre Dame and New Mexico State also touching now. So Army is about to touch Notre Dame, but nothing yet. Okay, so continuing on. There we go. So UMass has built 2 catapults. Army has built their General Mark A. Miley. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. It's the General of the U.S. Army. I think he's the head of the U.S. Army, obviously under the president, but I think he's the next in command, is who that is. So they have a great general, just like everyone else. UMass has 2 catapults. Yukon has 1, but we've seen before, just because you're the first one to get military units does not mean you are going to win. The key to victory here, as we've seen before, seems to be how many cities you capture early on in the game and how aggressive you are out front. The more cities, because everyone's limited to 1 city, you have 1 center of production, and if you capture another city, that gives you another center of production, so you can now build units twice as fast as any other civ who has just 1 city. So the more cities you have, you are basically just exponentially increasing, well, not exponentially, but you're just you're increasing your ability to produce way more than anyone else who has just their original capital. So UMass coming out of the gate strong here with their military. They have 3 catapults and a swordsman. The Yukon's just 2 catapults, and everyone else is single workers. Army does now have a catapult as well as their great general. No one else with a military unit yet. So if I were UMass, or sorry, not UMass, New Mexico State. If I were New Mexico State, I would either attack Notre Dame or UMass right now. And you have enough catapults. If you can launch it successfully, you can do a successful invasion, attack either of them, and try to take the capital now. Maybe get another catapult, or at least another melee unit, because your swordsman's going to be targeted first, and if he goes down, you're stuck. So get another swordsman, get another melee unit if you can, and then use that army to go attack one of your neighbors and capture their capital. Knock them out of the game, give yourself an extra city. You'll have double the production of anyone else in the map at the moment. So we'll see if they actually follow through with that advice or not. Army now has 3 catapults themselves, still just a great general, so no melee unit to capture a city yet. Let's see, Yukon still just has the 3 catapults, so no melee unit as well. There we go. There's that second melee unit for New Mexico State in the Spearman. He is going to go out and see what the situation is at everyone else. Unlike us, who can see the whole map at once, everyone else can't. They have what's called the fog of war, or it's just like everything's kind of grayed out, or just a bunch of clouds, and they can't see what anyone else is doing. So they don't know how big everybody's military is or how big their territories are until they physically can see it for themselves. So they're sending these scouts out to go see what their opponents are looking like. And if they see something that they like, if they see a civilization with no units at all, or very few units compared to their own, they can attack. Army's getting ready to go. They have a swordsman, so we could also see a joint war between Army and New Mexico State against Notre Dame. They're squeezed in between the two, and they don't have any military at the moment, so it would be a good option to do that. Yukon now does have Big Red, so that is a melee unit of their own. They are ready to attack. Liberty, Massachusetts, and Notre Dame, and BYU have no military whatsoever yet, so they're going to want to do something here before it's too late. It's turn 165. Usually we'll start seeing the first wars of the game around now. Some conferences it's been faster, some it's been slower, so it's just a toss-up really between who's in and who's out. Ready to go to war and not ready to go to war at this point. So Notre Dame does build a great library. Army's now sending their units out as scouts to kind of get a lay of the land, as you will. BYU now has built a horseman, so they have a military unit. It's not going to be something that would keep any military from attacking you, but it's at least something compared to Notre Dame, UMass, and Liberty. So we're already running out of room on the map. I mean, you can see how little room there is already left available. So everyone's going to be expanding quickly. There we go. UMass does now have a horseman as well. Should be taken out pretty quickly by a pikeman or a spearman. So, all right. So not sure what Notre Dame's doing, or Liberty. UMass and BYU kind of figuring it out. UMass does build the Terracotta Army to prevent any of these teams with a larger military from building it. They did get an extra horseman out of that. But that's it. Everyone else would have gotten a lot more out of that than, or at least these three would have gotten a lot more out of it than UMass did. But oh well, that's their loss. So let's keep on going and see what happens. Surprisingly, there has not been a war yet between anybody. So I would have expected maybe Liberty or Notre Dame to have been attacked by now, just because of how weak they are and how small their military is. So let's keep going. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, this is the longest. I'm surprised. I figured this one would go real fast just because of how small everything is and how close they are. Let's see if I don't think there has been any denouncements or anything like that yet. No, so everyone is neutral with each other at the moment. No wars, no denouncements, no friendships, no nothing yet. So we're just gonna keep going and hope something happens. All right, so armies, the military, UMass actually has caught up quite well. Liberty now has their single horseman, and Notre Dame now has a swordsman and a composite bowman. That'll help. But again, these militaries are all so large that that's not enough to stop an invasion. BYU still with just their original horsemen. Yukon, New Mexico State, and Army all have very, very large militaries. All even now, I mean, after starting so late, UMass is caught up and is almost on par with New Mexico State, I'd say. So let's keep going. No, nothing yet. I'm really hoping I didn't screw up one of the settings and not allow them to go to war, but I think they would have been labeled as friends by now. Oh, that's not a good, or that's not a bad idea. Making Liberty's unique unit a hospital bed. That would be pretty funny. Or maybe their unique trait is coached from a hospital bed. That'd be good. That's a good idea. That was one of the weirdest things to see. I watched one of their games this past season, and seeing Liberty coached by Hugh Freeze from the press box in a hospital bed was definitely interesting. All right, so Notre Dame has built the Great Wall, and that is going to help them out a lot, as we've seen before in the past games. The Great Wall has really propelled teams that usually are in the last place to making it all the way up towards like the top 3 or 4 in the game, just because it's so hard to get over that wall this early and invade. So unless it's a joint effort by multiple teams to go in and really try to like push and get through and knock that team out, that wall has done a lot of good for any team who gets it. So, and now because everyone's been peaceful for so long, it looks like Liberty is caught up. UMass is definitely caught up. Notre Dame's catching up in terms of military size, and we're really running out of space on this map. So what we're going to do is, if no one goes to war, I mean, it's really early to do this, so I don't want to do it yet. If no one goes to war, by the time pretty much every space in this map is filled with units, then I'll force a war just to cull them a little bit. We won't get to that for at least a few more turns, so we'll wait a bit, see what happens. I'm just really worried I accidentally turned something on that prevented war from happening, so because by now usually you see at least someone getting mad at the other person for encroaching, but nothing of the sort yet. So I'll have to check that later. We've entered the Renaissance era, I think it was. So we have a spy. We're not going to use that. It's just too short of a game. It's supposed to be too short of a game, at least. Liberty has built Machu Picchu. BYU has a lot of food. Everyone else is pretty much middle of the road. Yukon is at the lowest end with 5, which is not bad. I mean, it's still positive, which is good for them. Let's see. Still nothing happening yet. Okay. Continuing on. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I don't know if everything's going to be founded or not by then, but it looks like something's going on where they're not going to start fighting. So we're going to go to turn 450, or all tiles filled up, and then we'll force a war. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to check the settings afterwards, and I'll just see if it's... Oh, no, there we go. So they can go to war. It just really took a long time to get there. So Liberty is going to declare war on Yukon. BYU is going to join in a turn later and also declare war on Yukon, and there we go. So now I don't have to force anything. That's good. So Yukon's going to get a joint war by both teams, and their army just falls apart. So, I mean, Yukon's army's gone. Like, there's nothing left of them, really. That's all BYU right there. Pratt & Whitney Stadium brought down to about half health immediately. Now down to the red, and now it's a matter of who gets it. BYU gets it. So Yukon loses its capital, and that is going to be an F in the chat for Yukon, because they have been eliminated from the game as the first team to go. So, and wow, that kicked off fast. Yukon's army just got demolished there. I mean, they got destroyed. They fell immediately. It was like a paper tiger. Just nothing happened. Like, they put up no fight. It was just down for the count. That's surprising, and I'm wondering how much of that's going to happen with wars against all these other teams, like New Mexico State and Army, who have had these massive military forces for the entire game. But a joint war, it's hard to fight between two people. So yeah, so it really comes down to what your luck is. If you check the set, I will probably accidentally nuke the party sub if I check the settings. That's true. So I'm not going to do that. Now that I know war can be declared, we're going to let this thing ride. I was just getting a little bit worried because I did mess with the settings early on, but I was using the American as the test conference, so it wasn't the Independence, but I may have accidentally turned a setting on. Because at one point I did accidentally turn the American into a game where no one can declare war. But when I did that, everybody was friends. So it wasn't like... There was no indication. I could tell that they weren't going to war because everyone was friendly. And I think everyone was at war with me, actually. So they all tried to attack the party sub, even though they can't get to it. So... Alright, so continuing on, we've had our first war. BYU is going to take some time to rebuild. They're going to need a military... Again, if they want to invade any of these other teams. They luckily have Pratt & Whitney Stadium to help them out. But there we go. Notre Dame, who was so far behind in the beginning, now has built their military up and has decided to invade New Mexico State. New Mexico State does have Pistol Pete, which is their unique unit. Notre Dame doesn't have any of their unique units yet. So we'll see how this invasion goes. New Mexico State's military is falling fast. So here's the problem with this is these massive militaries are all weak. militaries. I mean, they're all relatively equal to everyone else in the game, but there's such close proximity. All you need to do is take out what you can, get to the stadium. Aggie Memorial Stadium's down to half health. And then these trebuchets and knights or longswordsmen can get in there and bring it down to the deep red. And then there we go. New Mexico State has been eliminated from the game. That is an F in the chat for New Mexico State. Notre Dame has taken Aggie Memorial Stadium, giving the Fighting Irish that extra advantage of having a second city. So here we go. Oh, and Liberty builds Notre Dame this time. So to make up for that, Notre Dame decides to wage war against both BYU and UMass. Actually, the other way around. BYU and UMass join forces against Notre Dame. UMass rushes in with their massive military. They've waited until Notre Dame weakened themselves in this first fight against New Mexico State before invading. They should have a lot easier of a time getting in there. UMass does found Catholicism as another slight to Notre Dame and just rushes in there to start doing more damage to Aggie Memorial Stadium. Notre Dame builds some edgy castle to help, but that's not going to do much. So BYU hanging back, letting UMass do their thing first, weaken their own militaries, weaken Notre Dame's militaries. Liberty now founds Protestantism, which is also kind of funny. And then, UMass has actually failed. So this is the first military invasion we've seen so far in this conference that was not successful. Notre Dame does have the technological advantage. They have musketmen to these pikemen and long swordsmen. So the technical advantage helped, and then just a poor invasion strategy by UMass just didn't work. So now it's BYU's turn to see if they want to come in. They also have musketmen, so they're on par with Notre Dame in that aspect. But they seem to be okay with just hanging back and staying in their own territories. There we go. So BYU accepts Notre Dame's peace agreement. So now it's just Notre Dame and UMass at war, because BYU is going to instead turn and fight Army. They're going to go the more direct route and go up and around to Notre Dame as opposed to going across the whole map. I mean, the whole map being like 5 tiles, but but that's not a problem. So they're going to push in. They're going to move up to Army, and they're doing a good job of taking down armies. Technologically somewhat inferior, but pretty equal. I do see the musketmen right there, so they are equals, but BYU just has more. So they're going to make that push all the way up to Michi Stadium, and they're going to begin to damage it. We'll see if Army can hold them off. They're going to be able to bombard, but BYU does have a lot of units in the area. Down in the south, UMass is going to have war declared upon them by Liberty as the Flames rush in with their very large military, trying to do a number on the already weakened from the war with Notre Dame, which is still going on, by the way. So Liberty's going to come in here. Notre Dame's still picking off some of UMass's remaining military units, so Liberty should have pretty much free access to Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium. Up in the north, Army's capital is down to the yellow, but has healed back to the green. BYU doing what they can to take it, but I don't know if they're going to have the numbers and the strength to do so. Liberty kind of half committing to this, but now they're going to push in with the rest of their military force. Michi Stadium back down to the yellow. BYU does not have any reserves here, so what they have up in the front, besides these 2 crossbowmen, is pretty much all they got, and they're eliminated from the battle. So now they have no melee units to take the city, so they may as well retreat, rebuild, and try again another time. But they did do a great job of bringing Army down to just a single crossbowman, so if Notre Dame wants to change gears here and go take Michi Stadium from the north, that would be a good opportunity, because Liberty has surrounded Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium down here in the south, so Notre Dame can't even get over to it. And everyone is enhancing their religions, so that'll give them a few more extra bonuses. Liberty not doing so great in their invasion of UMass. Notre Dame is coming in there and trying to snipe the city themselves. They've actually pushed Liberty out of the way now, so they're coming in with tons of musketmen. Warren McGurk is beginning to take damage. Liberty pulled back and is regrouping down here in their own capital territories. Now they're making that second push, but they got to get there hopefully before Notre Dame can take the city. So Warren McGurk is down to the about mid to low yellow. And it's holding on. Notre Dame is running out of units. They have no melee units in the area, so if they continue on and continue to damage the city, all they're doing is setting Liberty up to snipe it. So for right now, it looks like UMass is going to be safe unless Liberty does launch another full-scale invasion. BYU has regrouped their military. They're kind of remassing up here in the north by Army's territory. Let's see, nothing yet. Oh, there we go. So BYU is going to make that second push towards Michie Stadium. They're going to start to damage it. No trebuchets or catapults, so they're going strictly based on crossbows for ranged, and then knights and musketmen and pikemen for melee. So Michie Stadium down to half health still, now down to about 2/3. I don't think they're going to have the strength to take it. They're not. They're going to retreat for now and regroup. They may as well make peace, give it like 15-20 turns before trying again, because if you're still at war, then that gives Army a chance to rebuild and then come at you while you're trying to also rebuild. So that's not going to be good for you. They're going to keep pushing. Army is actually rebuilding. You can see they built a knight and a musketman themselves. BYU's best bet is for Notre Dame to join this fight and help them out, but I don't think the Fighting Irish are going to do that. So there we go. BYU accepts the peace deal from Army and is going to take this time to rebuild. Notre Dame and Liberty still trying their best to take Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium, but UMass is not letting them go, or letting them come in easily. They're giving them all they got to fight back. Liberty does have a pretty sizable military mass back up around Arthur L. Williams Stadium, but they don't want to fully commit and lose it again in case BYU changes their mind and heads south instead of trying to again north later on in the game. Notre Dame again has the two cities, so that is one extra advantage they have over Liberty, is they can get their military strength back up quickly and they can just keep hitting UMass over and over again. And just while one city is building up a military to attack, the other city's military is attacking, and then switch between the two. Or you build up both into one giant army and go with that, and that'll do even better results. So it looks like Liberty is trying again with their most of their full army potential. They're bringing Warren McGurk down to about 3/4 health, but they're still losing quickly, and they're going to make peace because it's just not worth it at the moment. They need more military strength. They need better technologies to come in there and capture it. So Notre Dame is amassing up here in the north. That's a lot of great generals and musketmen, cannons, stuff like that. So they are probably going to be going to war with Army here very soon. Expect that. They haven't made peace with UMass, but they just seem to have abandoned that war front for now. Maybe not. They're moving around in ways. It's hard to tell what direction they're going. So UMass is coming in and fighting them there still. So they're going to have to. This is why I said make peace with them first, because if you want to attack Army up in the north, you're going to have to deal with UMass sending in people down here to the south to pillage your lands and just be a pain. So it would be best if you could just make peace with them, focus on one war at a time, and when you're this close together. So let's keep going, see what happens. Yeah, Notre Dame definitely has one of the largest militaries in the game now, which is funny with how late they started. BYU catching up, and that's the advantage again of them having two cities apiece. But yeah, just smart moves all around, capturing those two cities early on and having that advantage. Both technologically seem pretty equal. I see a lot of musketmen on Notre Dame's side and BYU's side. Some crossbows, some knights. I don't see... Notre Dame does have this cannon, which I don't see on BYU's side yet. So that is an advantage that Notre Dame has for city captures. I don't see a trebuchet. Oh, there's a trebuchet for BYU, though. So that does show, and either they don't have the money to upgrade it, they haven't wanted to upgrade it, or they don't have the technology to upgrade it yet. Liberty has a decent-sized military, but compared to Notre Dame and BYU, not too bad, or not too large. Army's still recovering from their war with BYU, the original one. UMass is still down to nothing. They're still at war with Notre Dame, so they're not going to recover anytime soon as long as they're still at war. They need to make peace if they want if they want to last any further, because now all it takes is Liberty with their fuller strength to declare a full-on invasion and it's going to be hard for them. They have Liberty as cannons now. I just saw one. There it is. So that's going to be harder for UMass to defend a second time around. They're gearing up. They're on the borders. So, never mind. They've pulled back. So Notre Dame launching a full invasion now with their cannons and crossbows. Coming in initially to try to weaken the military strength and get the city down to where it's close to capture, so then they can bring in their melee units. So Warren McGurk doing their best to bombard, but it's starting to get damaged. BYU is going to try again against Army. They have the military strength this time to maybe make that final push that they needed the first time. Army's rebuilt, but not to their fullest potential as they were the last time. BYU is making quick work of the Army Black Knights. So let's see if they can keep that momentum. Alright, so Warren McGurk is still taking damage, but they're eating into a lot of that military strength of Notre Dame. BYU still making that push, trying to get to Michie Stadium. Warren McGurk is now in the red. There's this cannon doing massive damage to it with these musketmen coming in close, ready to capture. So we'll see if they can get there in time. Warren McGurk is capturable at the moment. Michie Stadium still not taking damage. BYU still trying to make that push. There's the damage beginning. There's the musketmen in the area, and there goes Warren McGurk Alumni Stadium. So Notre Dame eliminates UMass from the game. That is an F in the chat for UMass, as Notre Dame is the first team to secure 3 cities. BYU doing their best to try to get their own 3rd city into the fold, with Army having no military besides a single crossbow. You can see it's neck and neck between Liberty and Notre Dame, not BYU, surprisingly. They are in 3rd by quite a bit. I mean, nothing compared to Army, who's in a very, very distant 4th. 5th, really, behind us, but we don't count. So, but yeah, BYU's trying their hardest to get to Michie Stadium, but I'm guessing it's a technological disadvantage that's causing them to have a harder time. Michie Stadium finally is starting to take damage, significant damage. They're down to about half health. This cannon must have gotten set up and is finally bombing the cities. You can see it's losing a lot more health than it had been per turn. Now it's down to the deep red. These 2 cannons are set up, but they don't have a melee unit in the area, so they can't capture it. Notre Dame can quickly declare war. There is that Lancer, so he can come in there and get the city, and there he goes. So BYU rushes in with that Lancer. He captures Michie Stadium, eliminating Army from the game. That is an F in the chat for Army. They are going to be the next team eliminated, and now we are down to 3. So Liberty has the 2nd largest military in the game, as you saw, behind Notre Dame, which is understandable because Notre Dame is now working with 3 cities compared to Liberty's 1. BYU is in a very, very dangerous spot. They are going to land bomb Notre Dame, giving them territory inside the wall, which helps get them into Notre Dame Stadium. But if Notre Dame and Liberty declare a joint war against the Cougars, that is going to be trouble. That's going to be trouble for BYU. So the land bomb's not going to help Notre Dame do any favors. They do now have the 4 horsemen for Notre Dame. That's going to give them a big advantage in this upcoming war that is most likely going to happen soon. Everyone is now touching borders. There's very, very little land left in the middle here for expansion. So room is running out and tensions are high. So now it's just a matter of when is this war going to kick off. And hopefully soon. Let's see. BYU. The problem is Liberty and Notre Dame are giving BYU time to rebuild their military, and that's bad for Liberty at least, because Liberty can not afford to lose their military because they can't build it back as fast as BYU and Notre Dame can with just the 1 city. If they lose that military, their military is gone relative to the other 2 teams left in this game because they can't rebuild it. Notre Dame and BYU can build their armies 3 times faster than Liberty's. So if they declare a joint war against Liberty, Liberty's done. I think the team who's in the safest bet to have a dual war against them is Notre Dame, just because BYU was the weakest military, probably caught up quite a bit now, but was the weakest military. If Liberty, like I said, if Liberty's military gets wiped out, they're not a threat anymore, so then you can focus strictly on BYU. and maybe capturing Arthur L. Williams, which is right up around your territory. They're touching. So we'll see. It would be best if Notre Dame could work with BYU and take Liberty on, because Notre Dame has the units. They have the 4 horsemen, which can move faster than any traditional melee unit. I don't see too many cavalry units for BYU. Just this one knight here, there, and there, versus all of these 4 horsemen that are the equivalent of a cavalry unit. So they have the faster movement, the longer distance they can travel. And you can see BYU moving their military south. So are they preparing for an invasion against Liberty? Let's find out in probably just a few more turns. Because, yeah, Liberty I don't see being the aggressor here. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. They need to wait until the moment's right for them to strike. If they want to be an aggressor, wait until one of the other 2 big boys goes to war against the other, find out who's losing that war, and then join against them. So then it looks better for the team who's winning. You can potentially snipe a few cities from them, and grow your own strength and hope to survive till the end at this point. And yeah, Liberty's got a huge happiness advantage compared to everyone else. BYU having a very unhappy population, well, not very unhappy, but an unhappy population is going to be bad for their military strength and their production. So that's probably why BYU is so far behind. Let's take a look real quick at their military levels here. I see open borders between Liberty and BYU, but everyone's denounced everybody else except Liberty and Notre Dame. In terms of military strength, it's all Notre Dame right now. They're above and beyond. BYU is actually caught up. They are now bigger than Liberty by quite a bit, and that's again having that multi-city advantage. So Liberty is in dead last in terms of military strength, and that comes down to them only having 1 city and not much land to really build on. So it's not just the number of cities of production, it's also where you can put them. And they have this small area of land compared to these giant, relatively giant areas of land that BYU and Notre Dame have. So we're going to keep going here before we do any sort of forcing of war. I don't expect to need to, but if we do, we're going to wait until turn 800 to do so. So turn 800 is going to be forced war between everybody. I think we're going to get to war before that. So BYU is amassing their military down in the south. I think BYU is making their intentions known that they're going to be invading Liberty soon. Notre Dame's keeping their militaries actually in the north, so they may be trying to go for Michie Stadium themselves, but they could be waiting for BYU to attack before they invade themselves. BYU pulling back towards Lavelle Edwards Stadium, but then that could just be troop movement. They have to move everyone in a turn. They could try to put them to sleep, but they don't seem to want to. And there's limited room to actually move them around, so... Alright, so BYU's going to build the Porcelain Tower. And Notre Dame is grouped up here. They're all in Notre Dame Stadium here, and they have a second group down here in the middle, kind of in between Aggie Memorial and Warren McGurk, and now they're moving them north. So they're all grouped up around Michie Stadium. BYU seems to have noticed, and they're moving some of their military up to the north to dissuade or entice. It could be either one. They could be provoking Notre Dame into a war. Liberty seems to be wanting to go for a culture victory. They keep bringing in, I see, archaeologists and great people coming in here doing culture bombs into BYU's territory. Notre Dame adopts autocracy. They're the first team, I think, to get to a whatchamacallit, order autocracy, or the other one. It's just cooped up in the house. I have not been thinking much, so I guess. Notre Dame builds Brandenburg Gate. Ideology. That's the word I was looking for, an ideology. Thank you, game. Alright, so BYU goes order directly against what Notre Dame picked. The Holy War should begin soon. You're right, it's the Mormons versus the Catholics versus the Evangelicals. Who will win? BYU does now have Great War Infantry. I think they are the first to do so. So that is a good technological advantage for BYU. Notre Dame still has the larger army by and far. Getting closer to... Let's not do 800. Let's do 750. So less than 100 turns still in all-out war. Let's speed this up because we got to do 2 more of these today, and my throat's already starting to go a little bit. So let's just see what we can do. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm getting a little raspy. So they did have open borders at one point, so let's check and see their relation. Yes, they do still have open borders, so that helps Liberty with their limited spacing. But there we go. So Liberty and Notre Dame are going to declare war against BYU. Notre Dame immediately rushes in. This is Liberty's last chance, essentially, to get any sort of progress here, because Notre Dame's going to be